Hello, and welcome back to the Agency Academy show. Annalise Warren here. Today we're going to talk about 2026. Just around the corner. We're going to talk about what 2026 looks like for both you as an agency owner and for your clients. We're going to talk about 4 different things. We're going to touch on AI a little bit because next week's episode is going to be all about that. We're going to talk about content, what that looks like. We're also going to talk about ads and community. So come with me. Let's dive in. First up, the theme that I think we're going to see in 2026, the overall outcome, is that the gap is going to widen between the people that are going to make it and the businesses that are going to quietly disappear into the ether. Now, that has been happening more in 2025 than I've seen since COVID times. We were all home in the pandemic. Lots of people jumped online, decided to go out on their own, and there were lots of buyers in the space. The market was high. Now, over the last few years, that has declined, and I've seen so many people going back to employment this year, more so than any other year since. And I think that trend is going to continue. I think the experts and the leaders are going to continue to see success as they have been, and the cream is going to continue to rise to the top. Now, that is actually really great news because as buyers are more discerning, they're going to choose the experts. That's you, my friend. You're going to lead, and it means that there's less noise in the space. So let's touch on AI because I know that's the elephant in the room. A lot of freelancers and agency owners come to me afraid that they're going to be losing their jobs to AI. Now, let's be clear, AI is going to take jobs, but it's not going to take the jobs of all marketers. It's going to take the jobs of bad marketers or mediocre marketers. It is our job to educate our clients to leverage AI to the best of our ability and use it as a tool to grow our businesses and our clients' businesses and not to replace us. I'm going to talk more about this next week, but ultimately companies that are moving to AI instead of paying experts to do it are going to quickly realize that AI generated content becomes a commodity. It doesn't stand out, it doesn't get results, and they're going to come back and flip back to using real copywriters and people who know how to use AI and get the most out of it. Because as we know, AI is only as good as what we feed it. So I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to put a pin in it, come back to next week's episode. We're going to dive all into AI, how to leverage it, how to use it, how to make it your friend, how to make sure that it amplifies what you're doing and doesn't replace you. So we'll talk more about that next week. So now let's talk more about number 2, which is content. Let's talk about the ecosystem because I think that's the trend that we're going to be seeing more of in 2026, and that's great. And again, it's a result of what happened maybe 5 years ago. So as so many people came into the space that 2020, 2021, 2022, what happened was that a lot of those people bought, a lot of us have invested heavily in our businesses at this point. A lot of people, unfortunately, have been burned by buying from people who weren't experts. And they haven't got the results maybe that they were promised. And so people are more discerning now. What used to work a few years ago, a simple funnel that would catch someone's attention, rope them in, get them to buy pretty quickly, now is for a lot of people a longer process. And what we need is an ecosystem that surrounds people and gives them a little bit more nurturing and love. Now, I've been talking about this since 2019, so this is not a new thing, but I think more and more it's important to realize that the simple funnel for your clients and maybe for yourself as well is needing to be fleshed out a little bit. A lot of us marketers have got away with not really doing our own marketing. Am I right? I know I'm right. I know I was guilty of this, just running a book a call ad and getting clients that way and having very minimal content on the back end. Yes, we had socials at one point. Yes, we had blogs at one point in my agent. And now that ecosystem is going to be more important because people might see your ad, but then they're probably going to check out your Instagram or your YouTube. And then they're going to go and maybe read your blogs and they're going to jump on your email list and they're going to really get a feel for Does this person know what they're talking about? Our BS meters are on point, right? We can read the room more than ever. And we know when someone is maybe pulling our leg or exaggerating. We need to have that content out there so people can engage in different areas. We cannot afford to be lazy. We must be spending time on our businesses, not just in our businesses. That has always been true. But know what you are competing against now. Every woman and her dog is a marketer. We need to be sharp. We need to lead. And we can't do that if we're not being visible. We're not actually showing up for ourselves and our companies. Now, that doesn't mean we have to be everywhere. If you're listening to this, there's one way to get in front of people. We want one way to nurture them and one way to sell. That doesn't change. But that nurture piece is often neglected, right? Maybe it's just an email list. Maybe we don't put the blog up. Maybe it's haphazard and there's weeks we don't do it. That has to change. To win in 2026, content has to be a pillar in your company. And that doesn't mean you need to have content on 47 platforms, but whatever you do, do it consistently, do it well, make it quality. Enough content. There's going to be enough of that with AI everywhere. Stand out by making it quality. Do less quality consistently. And that's what's going to win the game in terms of having this marketing ecosystem. Have places where people can spend time with you, get to know you, because that's what they're going to need now to really build that trust. There's that trust deficit in the marketplace. So how do we build that trust, both in our content and with our offers? Maybe we're building some sort of smaller trust offer on the front end, or we're changing that initial engagement piece. We're talking about that with our content and building that into our strategy because of that trust deficit. So thinking about content, thinking about ecosystem, thinking about quality over quantity, that is true more than ever on social media. For us, organic social media has never been a strategy. We don't spend a lot of time on it, but our clients do, and we do for our clients. What we're seeing there is the same. AI drivel everywhere. So to stand out, make it quality, working on really nailing your hook and your curiosity piece. Grab their attention straight away and make them watch to the end. Those two pieces, in terms of speaking to the algorithm and making it love you, are going to continue to be more important. So if social media, organic content is your thing, really dial in on those two pieces, the hook and making them watch to the end. That is what is going to see you win in that space in 2026 and beyond, and make you stand out against all of the commoditized rubbish that is going to be out there more and more, and is already, right? If we look at our Instagram feeds, that's what we're seeing. All right, number 3, let's talk about ads. Ads are still powerful. Ads are the rocket fuel behind our business. We don't do organic, but ads are our jam. We run them all the time for ourselves and for our clients. And yes, it is getting easier. The AI on Facebook now is pretty amazing. We don't need to know as much in terms of audience targeting. Yes, the creative is the new targeting. That saying's going around a lot. But we still need to target. The creative is important, but what is more important than creative is diverse creative. We're going to give it to dynamic creative to do its thing. Our role is still important. As experts, we need to be able to do is to read the data and pivot quickly and lead your clients as a strategic partner and guide them to tell them what the data means. Because most likely, your clients aren't marketers. Their internal admin person might be able to throw up an ad, but how do they optimize it? How do they know what's working? How do they shift things? They don't. So yes, they may be hearing, great, it's easy, I can run my own ads, but they're going to see that maybe the ads work, but their landing pages are shocking. And so they're not actually going to convert. So again, you stepping into that leadership expert strategy piece more than ever is going to be really, really important. So that's what's happening with ads. Easier to get up and running, but not easier to sell because we need the expertise on the back end. So that is going to be the shift. It's going to be educating our clients. It's going to be seeing more people trying ads. But again, I think as AI is more prevalent, a lot of people will begin to try and test it, probably see that it's lukewarm, mediocre results, and they're going to come back to the experts who actually know what they're doing. So as long as you're positioning yourself in that space and calling out these objections in your content, you're going to stay right where you are. So as long as you're calling out these objections in your content, then you're going to be positioned as the expert. The fourth thing we're going to talk about is community and access. There is so much information out there. We are overloaded with information. How do we make what we're producing more about access, customization, community? How do we build in the pieces that people can't just get from Google or ChatGPT? How do we make what we offer and how we show up online less generic and more about the ideal customer and community? I think that's going to be more important than ever. So thinking about when you talk online, not just producing information, but actually giving stories and that personal experience, showing rather than telling, is going to help you stand out because ChatGPT can't do that. And that's what people are going to pay for, right? They're going to pay less for information. They're going to pay for the doing, and they're going to really pay for that access to that experience, that lived experience. So the more we establish ourselves as the expert and provide those things, access to us, community with one another, the things they can't just get generically from Google, embedding those things into how we show up in our marketing and to our clients is going to make us much more valuable and less disposable. So in a world where everything's commoditized, how do we position ourselves as the strategic partner, the leader, the linchpin in their company? Really thinking about how we embed those aspects into our offers in 2026, I think is going to be really important. Let's talk about what I think an incredible agency model is going to be in 2026. Number one, it really is that partnership piece. How are you positioning yourselves with your clients to be a strategic partner and not just a doer? If you're a strategic partner, then you're embedded in their company, right? You help them make financial decisions. You're a leader in their team, and you can guide them to make moves and decisions that keep you in the game. How do we build ourselves into our clients' companies and not be an optional on the side tack-on service? We don't want to be that. We want to be a strategic partner. That doesn't mean it's all on you and that you need to show up more and see your clients more. How are you offering those little extras? How do you show up in those meetings? How do you frame questions? How do you lead in your meetings rather than take direction from them? How do you step up and say, actually, this is how I think we should move? Or actually, what about if we also added this in? And make yourself an invaluable part of their team. That in your agency model is going to be really important as budgets are cut and the economy is rocky. If you are a strategic partner in their company, a leader in their company, then your position is going to be a lot more secure than if you're on service that they could do without. Number two is, how do you help them to leverage AI in their company? As a marketer, as an agency owner, you need to be the expert in the AI features that are going to support your clients. Most likely your customers are not AI experts, right? They know it exists. They use ChatGPT to give them a recipe or a workout, but they probably haven't researched and tested all these different models. It's probably a bit overwhelming. If you're someone on your team really knows how to leverage these tools and you're leading the charge and introducing your clients to them, and again, making yourself more invaluable in that way, that is going to really position you in a really secure way and it being an invaluable part of your client's team. So how do we do that? How are you going to do that with your clients and the AI tools that you can use in your team or that your clients can use? And how are you going to be that bridge between the tools and the work? We want to make a link there, and you want to really lead that so that AI doesn't replace you, but it becomes an amplifier led by you. You're the expert in that area. I'm speaking vaguely because many of you work in different fields, but I want you to journal on this and think about how you can help your clients leverage AI. That's the bottom line. How do you do that and lead the charge so that you're the expert? They come to you for the knowledge. Even if it's their team implementing it, how do you introduce them to things and establish yourselves as the authority in that space? If you are the authority, you will know these things, learn these things, and be on the pulse. Either you need to do that or someone in your team needs to do that if you don't want this to replace you. Now, the third thing is just what we always talk about, right? We're outcome based, we're not deliverable based. We have recurring revenue in our business and we productize what we do so it's repeatable. Is the key to running an agency that runs without you. We are outcome based, we're high ticket, we're outcome based. What are they going to get at the end of this? How do we make it recurring revenue so that we don't have flash in the pan projects here and there, and we can rely on a certain amount of income coming in every month? Even coming into the end of the year, I used to panic because January was so quiet, there was no one around. Now it's a different story because I have recurring clients and all of the January work is done in advance. So how are you making sure that is embedded in your company? How do we productize? How do you make sure that you're doing really similar things to the client? And how do we productize? How do we make sure that 80% of what we do is automated and the same for every client to make us really, really good at it so that we can have systems in there, that we can automate a lot of it, that our team knows what to do, there's predictable results, and only 20% or less is customized for each client? How do we build that so we can scale? If everything is custom, we cannot scale. So how do we productize it, turn it into a product where we sell it and it gets automatically delivered in a cadence that our team runs and our systems run? How are you building that into your company? Now, that is the basis of the Agency Academy. And if you don't have those things embedded in your business, then check it out. The link will be in the show notes. Okay, that is it from me for this episode. If you take anything away from this, the main thing that I want you to take away from this is that it is your job as an agency owner to lead. The more that we lead, the more that we show up as an authority in our space, in our niche, the more valuable we are, the more people will follow us, the rockiness of the economy, right? It is your job as an agency owner to lead, to be the strategic partner. So how are you becoming the expert in your space? And what is your space going to look like in 12 months, 5 years time? And being ahead of that so that you can lead your clients. You can be the thought leader. You can be that expert that people come to. Position your agency in that way and become the go-to in that space. To do this, we have to be the thought leader. It means that we look at what's coming ahead with a visionary. So make the time to learn, make the time to have your finger on the pulse of your industry, not everything, just the thing that you're going to be the expert at. Don't get complacent, don't get lazy. In this economy, with AI coming like this, you cannot afford to be mediocre. You have to take the time to be the cream that rises to the top, to lead, to be the go-to. That is your job. So carve out the time and then everything else will work. You won't fall by the wayside. You will be standing out as everyone else blends in. If you don't know how to do this, if you're feeling really overwhelmed, book a call with me or a member of my team. I would love to chat with you, or join us inside Agency Academy. We have a new cohort starting in January. Very exciting. It's a 12-month program that helps you go from overworked, underpaid to powerhouse CEO who is running your schedule and has the time, money, location freedom that you want. So if that sounds interesting, book a call, have a chat, let's see if it's a good fit. Have a good one. See you on the next one.